Well, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you are logging in from. Welcome to another Aplos webinar. This is our weekly donor management tour or live demo that we do every Thursday specifically for donor management. We'd like to welcome those of you who are just now logging on or coming on board with us. Just give you a thank you. My name is Dan Kimball, and I am a product specialist here at Aplos, and I have the privilege of every Thursday doing this demo and taking you through a little bit of our donor management product. So we're going to get going here. We're going to do a couple housekeeping things. First of all, just to make sure that all of our technical things are in line and working, if you would just do me a favor, if you're logged on and you can see my screen, which is you should be able to see and hear my voice. If you could just kind of just let me know in the question box, just type in that, yeah, it's all good, or you can see and hear and everything's working well on your end. That would be great if you could do that. Again, you have a little question box where you can type in for me. So if you could just do that, that would be great. Awesome. Great. Hi, Meg. Good. Excellent. All right, so we'll go ahead and get going. And then also just feel free to use that question box. Hi. Feel free to use that question box. What typically I'll do is as I'm going through the software, I'll pause and I'll take a look at the questions if I see anything pop up. But then just know that we'll leave plenty of time at the end to do some Q&A as well. So just don't panic. If you think of a question, type it in. I may get to it right away, but I will get to the questions. So with that, let's go ahead and get going, because I know that you all are busy people and want to make good use of our time together. Once again, my name is Dan Kimball. I'm a product specialist here at Aplos, and we're really happy to talk to you about donor management. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of get going. So typically we'll have two groups of people who are looking at this. First, we'll have our group of people who are already using our Aplos accounting product. And who are looking to maybe add donor management to their, so that's this right here. And then we have a lot of folks who are checking us out that are just looking at our donor management that may or may not be using a different accounting product, which is all fine. One of the things I'm really privileged to say is that you can use a different accounting product and our donor management separately, and vice versa. However, there is certainly a real advantage in that what most nonprofits do is they get some kind of accounting product like a QuickBooks or something to track their money, and then they get a CRM separately. What we've been able to do is kind of bring the two together. So what basically happens is with our accounting, you have the ability to kind of turn on donor management where you can track not only your donations, but then you can really track your people. And that's really what we're going to focus on right here is our donor management product. We launched full suite donor management about just under a year ago. Really pleased with the feedback and the response so far, and especially how the two are kind of coming together. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We're going to go ahead and click on donor management. I'm going to do this under the sort of umbrella of this foundation, this Aplos Foundation that I've created for the sake of this demo. And so we'll just kind of open it up. And just like, most softwares or our software, you're going to have, a variety of windows that you can, or not windows, but, tabs that you can click, and they'll open up some additional tabs. One of the things we're really trying to do is keep this kind of clean so we don't overwhelm you with options and too many tabs and things like that. And so, it's really broken down into kind of three core concepts. So when we built donor management, we did it with really three major objectives in mind. The first was helping nonprofits and churches build what we call your donor DNA, meaning getting to know everything you can about the people who are either interested in your nonprofit or church and people who are currently giving, your people. So, and then the other two objectives were helping you have stronger donor retention, meaning when people give you a gift, do you have tools in place to hopefully continue to get that gift again? And then donor progression, which is you get to know your people, they give, but maybe over time you build a relationship. That gift will grow into something larger and a better relationship. So that's kind of the core objectives. So let's get right into this. We're going to start up here with our contacts. So again, a way to kind of break this out as you have your people, which is in your contacts, your fundraising, which is going to be about your money in terms of tracking your money, and then your communication is going to be how you're communicating back to those donors and those people. So that's how we have it broken down. And reports are reports. So that'll be pretty easy to go through. So let's start right up here with your contact list. That's going to be kind of I like to do it in this order because it starts with people. Any good nonprofit or foundation or church starts with the people that are involved. And this is basically your Rolodex, your group of people. That you can import in or you can start to add in. You can do this individually right here. You can add a new contact or you can import contacts. The nice thing about Aplos is everything is very Excel friendly. So depending if you are brand new or you're coming from a different environment, you can import contacts pretty easily, actually really easily, and we help you with that. And you, as well as you can export into other systems as well, so that you can do it here, or you can go right up here at this plus button at any time, and you can do a one-time action as well. So we try to make this easy for you, but what you're looking at here is again the people within your organization. So let's see what just kind of what a contact looks like. So I'm going to pick Michael Scott of Dunder Mifflin just kind of as an example. So what you're going to get here is a contact card and be able to kind of look at information about that person and what their relationship to your organization is. And we do everything kind of in two ways. We have prospects and we have donors, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But basically what you are able to do here is really track detailed information about that person. Of course, you have your name and address. You can do emails, various contact phone numbers. I have, some real basics here, but if you go into this full edit detail view, you can actually get a lot more information in there in terms of your addresses and all of that. So we're going to give you all the kind of the main features that you're going to be able to get in any kind of contact card. And then, of course, important stuff going from left to right. So starting right here where my mouse is, we're going to move to the right. You have your total giving. So you can obviously see this is, an important donor or whatever their relationship is, their last gift and the date of that gift. If they have any pledges, and we'll talk about pledges in a couple of minutes. And then we like to use the term touch, meaning last touch. And basically the way we define that is in the software. If you create a letter or an email using the Aplos software programs, it will create a report of contact for you right here, as well as indicate that there was some kind of action done in the software. So it's just a way to remind your staff and your people as you're looking at things to be in contact with some of those donors. And then some people like graphs and charts, so we just kind of give you kind of a graph to some donor trends and things like that. And then, of course, you can look at full giving as well. The other thing you can do right here is if your donor needs a one-time contribution statement, you can actually generate right here from their contact card. There's another place in the software where you can do your yearly or your annual contribution statements. Of course, we just got through the season of that because those were due yesterday. So here at Aplos, we were obviously helping people do those because they were doing their 2017 contribution statements. But if you do need to do just a one-time one, you can do it here. You can generate one here, or you can email one here. So those are all really great, ways to kind of do it. One of the things we're trying to do is make your jobs a little easier and not have you work so hard in the software. So hopefully this comes pretty easy. So let's work down here. Again, some of the other features you can do, report of contacts. Again, this is really helpful. What you're trying to do is create historical data or information about your donors. You can do this as you're meeting and talking with people. You can start to add notes. You just go right here. You can add a new communication. Maybe you made a phone call. Maybe you sent an email. So we're just going to call it a phone call here. Again, everything is pretty self-explanatory. We're going to say today's date, and we're just going to say let's just suppose that called to wish Mike happy birthday. I don't know if today's his birthday or not, but that would be kind of the thing. You save and close it, and then there you have the contact right there. And again, as I said earlier, anytime you do an email or a letter out of our software, which we're going to show you how to do that in a second, the software will automatically update your report of contacts. Why is this important? Well, this is important because as a nonprofit leader, you want to create historical information and historical data. For one, if you were to ever leave or your staff was to leave, you want to have a resource so people coming in will have some history there. And well, it's just good donor management to know what's going on with those donors. Same is true as you can create reminders for yourself, just kind of some workflows, and I'll show you where that lands in a second. But if there's a special reminder like a letter here, it says to fire Mike. So just so you know, some of our couple guys here at Aplos, we work on the same account here, and sometimes they put things in here that are pretty funny. So you can create reminders. You can do groups. The groups is a really powerful feature in the software where you can start to do what we call donor segmentation, where you create groups. Sorry, my mouse is kind of jiggling around all over the place. So right here, you can assign your donors or prospects into various groups, and you can create as many groups as you need or want that are specific to your organization. So in other words, these are all customizable, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So you have groups here. So you see that Mike is part of 3 groups. I'm going to go right over here to the left, right underneath the contact list, and I'm going to select groups. And right here, it's going to show me all the groups that I have created in my particular software. Again, these are all customizable. So when you open up the software the first time, you're going to get a vendor and one other, but then these are all things you can create. What I like about this is that you can create groups that are specific to the kind of work you're doing. So maybe you have volunteers, maybe you have alumni, maybe you have some specific group that you want to track that you can assign people into. It's super easy to create a group just by going there, name and create your group. So we're going to call this, after school lunch team. I don't know, something like that. I've never heard of an after-school lunch team, but I just kind of created that. So we'll go back into groups, and you'll see that that'll automatically be there right there. So, and then once I go back into my contacts, again, we'll go back to Michael Scott. One of the things I just wanted to show you in the search field, you just put in a couple letters, and it's really easy to search names, either first name or last name. Again, that's a real easy way to do that as well. So we'll go back to Michael, and you can see here, and if I go to groups and I go to edit groups, right here at the bottom, I can then assign Michael to an after-school lunch team. So again, it's a really powerful, so now you see that he's part of that team as well. And again, then later on, we're going to show you how you can search and then communicate to these people based off of these groups. So a really powerful and important feature in your software is donor segmentation, okay? Let me just pause here for 1 second. It looks like everybody's good. Going back here, this is just a way to kind of track relationships. Again, these are more notes than anything, other than just if there's other people in your software that you want to connect with one another. Any important dates, and then notes. I think notes are different to reports of contact in that these are just more informational for planning, whereas these are actual historical touch points, phone call, an email, a letter, where this is going to be just maybe some more narrative about that person. So for example, somebody who maybe doesn't particularly want to be invited to a banquet, or things that you've learned about that person, things that make them trigger. Because one of my philosophies, if you've ever listened to my webinars, you'll know that I'm a big believer that really fundraising is all about the relationship and building relationships. So what we're trying to do here is help you create better relationships with your donors. Okay, so that's your contact list. We talked about groups, and then custom fields is basically if there's some information in here that you need to track that we're not providing for you, you can actually create and design your own custom field, like maybe a donor ID number, or if there's some kind of piece of information you're trying to collect, some kind of data point that we're not giving you, you can then create it yourself. So that's all that is right there. And then the last field, list designer. I'm actually going to wait to go over list designer because it actually lives in all of the areas. You see list designer, list designer, list designer. And I'm going to wait for a few minutes to go into that. But basically what the list designer is where you're going to go to create a customized list of people and things that are in the software. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So that's your donor segmentation. So that's all about your people. Now let's talk about money. If you're currently using our accounting, our Aplos accounting, and you have our standard and above, you know that this is where you go to do your to track your money. But in the case of this is the full suite, this is where we're going to start right here with the fundraising center. So this is just going to be a dashboard for you to look at to show you some activity that's going on. We're trying to kind of help make your job a little easier and give you suggestions of things you can be doing as a nonprofit leader. So again, this is just a dashboard. And what we've done is we take everybody that's in the software and we break them up into 4 categories. As you can see right here, I'm highlighting them. We have your prospects, we have new donors, we have engaged donors, and then we have lapsed donors. And let me define those for you. A prospect is anybody that's in your contact list that has either never given or who has not given in 2 years or more. We call those a prospect. We call those somebody who you're trying to hopefully engage a little bit further and generate a gift from. So that's a prospect. So for example, you might have a dinner or some kind of reception and you get a bunch of business cards or you get names and you just punch them in the system, but no gift is attached. They'll become a prospect. Or maybe you have somebody that used to give that stopped giving a few years ago. They'll become a prospect. A new donor is anybody who's given one time in the past fiscal year, and a fiscal year is based off of how you set up the system based off of your own fiscal year. An engaged donor is somebody who has given multiple times or a regular donor. And the reason why we want you to do that is the way that you communicate to a new donor might look and feel a little different than an engaged donor. People really want to know that you are getting to know them. So that's why we do that. And then a lapsed donor is a very important group, and that's somebody who gave last year but has not yet given this year. And that's a good thing to track because, again, maybe there's things going on with those donors. Maybe they forgot. Maybe there could be a variety of reasons, but you want to kind of track and know who those are. So at any time, you can just click on on that group, and it'll quickly show you a list. And then you can generate to list designer, and then from there you can figure out a way to communicate to those. And again, I'm going to show you this list designer action in just 1 second. But that is something nice. So anytime something new happens in the software, whether it's a gift or a name gets put, this will get updated. Okay, and it'll show you also if you have any this month. So again, it's a nice action piece. Contributions is where you're going to go to actually track your money or your gifts. Again, if you're using a different accounting system like QuickBooks, it's fine. You want to track what people are giving and then create your, in a central deposit slip and then give those over to your accounting. In Aplos, those tie together. So if you track your contributions here, they'll automatically get updated in your accounting over here, which is a really nice thing. With full donor management, you can do these as tracking individual contributions or do it as a deposit or what we call a batch. So it's really super easy to do. You just basically click add contribution. So maybe it's just a one-time check. You can look up a contact. I'm going to just say, we're just going to say Alex here. And then what you're going to create purposes that are basically the funds within your nonprofit. We're going to call this a leadership gift. The acknowledge, unacknowledge, what this is basically just something for you to remind yourself. If you have somebody else that's doing your acknowledgement letters, or say maybe you do your deposits and then 2 or 3 days later you do your letters, this is where you can kind of just do a reminder. So all this basically does is give you a reminder to do or not do this. This is not an action per se. So I'm going to just call it acknowledged because let's say I just wrote a thank you right then and there. Today's date, we're going to call this the amount. We're going to call it $250. If there's any notes around that gift, you put those there. An expenses amount is if there's a credit card transaction fee or some kind of expense to get that gift to you, that's what that is. And the NTD stands for non-tax deductible amount. A lot of nonprofits forget about this little area, but this is really important, especially if you're selling stuff like maybe you're doing a raffle, or you're selling tickets to something. Anytime the donor receives a good or service in place of that gift, or in return, you have to break that out. This is very common when like you do a dinner banquet or a golf tournament. Very common like when people give to like public radio or public TV and they get something in return for their donation. You have to break that out. So this is where you would do that. If you have more questions about that, certainly feel free to let us know about that. So you can see right here when I go into my contributions, boom, what I just did is right there. And if I was an Aplos accounting customer, if I go into my accounting, I can find that deposit already living in my accounting section. So it's just going to save you a bunch of work as well. Okay, same is true if you want to do a whole bunch of gifts at one time, like on a Monday morning after an event. You go to deposits, you're going to go create deposit. It's the same idea. You're going to create the date of the batch, we call it. You're going to name it. Maybe it was Saturday banquet or something, Saturday dinner. Any other notes, and then you just do it line by line. So let's say you had 25 checks or gifts that you had to deposit. You would just do the same deal. The date, the donor, all of it. The action's still the same. You're just doing a bunch, and then you're saving a whole bunch in a batch. So that's how you would do that there. Okay, so pretty easy, kind of self-explanatory as well. So that's going to be where you add your actual contributions. Again, I want to emphasize that if you can do this regardless if you use our accounting or not. If you're using our accounting, it's all in one place. You would just simply export this. If you're not using our accounting, you would just export this and then import it into your accounting. Okay. Pledges are a place where you can create pledges. These are particularly helpful if you are doing some kind of campaign, like a building campaign or a capital campaign. You might have a donor that wants to be involved. They want to make a major commitment, but they want to pay that over time in payments. You create a pledge date, and that the total amount that they pledge, and then an installment date. Say they want to make monthly, quarterly, annual payments, and then the software will track how that's going. It will also, you can run a report, which I'll show you in reports of kind of how the pledges are doing, or pledge reminders and things like that. This is a nice feature. Now we're going to get into kind of our online forums. One of the nice things about Aplos is any and all of our packages, no matter if you're donor management or accounting, you have the ability to create your own personalized online donation form. And again, this is the ability for your donors to give to your nonprofit via a credit card. And we give you the tools to create your own online customizable donation form. You can use and create as many as you want. They're unlimited. Pretty easy to use. So for example, you might have a campaign one, you might have a general one. And in the case of like some, maybe you have a situation, we had a number of our customers whose last fall created, a disaster relief form because they had something happen in their community where they needed to quickly raise some money. So this is a form that we give you. You don't have to use it, but you're welcome to. Let me show you kind of what it looks like in real time, and then I'll talk to you about We Pay our providers. So we're going to go right here to West African Vocational Schools, only because they are our customer and I like to use them as an example. So West African Vocational School, or WAVES as we call them, is a Aplos customer. This is their website. We didn't build this website for them, but they are our customer, so they use us for donor management and accounting. And if you go to their Donate Now button, it takes you to the Aplos forum. So you see here what some things I want to point out. One is it's very customizable. You put your own logo, a picture of the work that you're doing, and then specific instructions for those donors. So you do that right here. And then, of course, the donor information, which again is customizable. In this case, they're capturing a first name, last name, email, and an address. And then customized donation levels. So you can rename these again for the kind of work you're doing. And then whether or not it's a one-time, or you can set up a recurring gift. And so what donors do is they go here and then they'll create an Aplos account so that they can then give on a regular basis to that nonprofit or ministry or church or whichever, any other kind of note. I like this right here. I'm going to highlight it for you. This is what a nice little feature. More and more people are doing this, but we do give you the donors the ability to pay any kind of transaction fee that happens here. So that's kind of in real time what our form looks like. Let me tell you about our credit card processing provider, also called WePay. WePay is the company that we use to do our credit card processing. The fees for WePay are 2% for ACH, which is automatic checking, and 3% for Visa MasterCard. Again, that's 2% ACH, 3% Visa MasterCard, and 30 cents per transaction on that. So we're quick on a question from Meg. I want to learn more detail on this donor online form. Looks like it would be helpful for community effort for quick response turnaround, maybe offline. Thanks. Yep, great, Meg. We'll come back to that and we can exchange information on that. And yes, it is very helpful. So again, I just want to emphasize one thing is if you are currently using another online credit card processing provider, we do not force you into ours or into WePay. If you feel like another company's working for you, you can get better rates, whatever. We're not going to force you to use that. It's just simply what you'll need to do is if somebody's giving online, you'll just need to make sure that you export that list from that provider and import them or put them into your contribution so you can track how people are giving. With Aplos, those are going to live all in the software. So for example, if you go to recurring donations, you will get a list of who's giving every month and what the status of that donation is, and then it automatically uploads right into your Aplos software and your accounting. That's the benefit there. The same is true with any kind of online donation. So this is where you're going to go to look to see if anybody has given online this week, this month, today, whatever might be. The purposes section is where you're going to set up those purposes that we talked about when you were inputting your donations. So you're going to create the purposes to match the purposes and funds within your organization. It's very easy. You create them here. And then again, if you're an accounting customer, what you're going to do is you're going to link those to an income account so that when you put a donation into the system or a contribution, you link those to your accounting and those will all show up together. If you use a different accounting system, you don't link them. You still track them, but then you just export this and then import the information into your accounting system, okay? And then lastly, List Designer, which again, I said we're gonna talk about in the last section. So that's your fundraising. That's all about your money and how you're tracking who's giving and how they're giving, and then tracking your contributions, okay? And then the next area is gonna be communications. Miss fees. Yeah, so I'll go over the fees one more time, Meg. So the fees, once again, are going to be 2% for ACH, which stands for automatic checking, 3% for Visa MasterCard, and it's 30 cents per transaction. So 2%, 3%, 30 cents per transaction. And my understanding is that all in all, that's about the average. It's a little bit less than some, a little bit higher than others, but for the most part, they're all pretty much right there. I think I just want to make a comment on that is that, the key with that is not so much just the fee as much as, is it a form that's easy to use and easy to hook up? We feel like our form is simple to attach to your Facebook page and your website without having to do coding and all of that. So that's another advantage to that. Okay, let's talk about communication real quick, and then we'll kind of start to round home and try to get into some questions and answers and things like that. Communication Center, again, we talked about people, we talked about money and fundraising. Communications is going to be the tools that you have available to you to communicate out to your donors. And we do it in a couple of ways. First of all, just like Fundraising Center, we have a Communication Center. Communication Center is going to just be a dashboard where you can just, again, see some activity, much like Fundraising Center. So you're going to look at, what kind of activity is going on and maybe some hints or reminders for you that some action things that you could be doing. So, for example, you have 42 new donors that you have not touched. That's just going to say, hey, have you put out a new donor welcome letter or sent an email or something like that? Maybe you've got some unacknowledged gifts or something to that nature. Oops, you have 25 lapsed donors. Maybe you ought to get on the phone and call some folks or something like that. So this is just some things to kind of help you. The same as the feed. The feed, again, we talked about in the contact cards, you can put little reminders. This is where those land. You can go into the feed and say, hey, I have some work I have to do this week or today, or assign it to somebody. And what's nice about this, you can do it all right here. You can do this. You can dismiss it when it's done. And then, or you can actually do the action, like you can send an email right here, send an email message, create a template, add a communication, those kinds of things. So that's kind of a nice thing. So from there, the two different ways you can communicate to your donors, one is by email. The second is by what we call snail mail or letters. And so we give you both an email campaign builder and a letter builder all right here. So if you're using, for example, MailChimp or Constant Contact, you're welcome to still use those. Or we do have a campaign builder right here. And so basically this is the ability for you to go in and create some kind of campaign. It could be a newsletter, it could be an announcement, it could be a pledge form, all sorts of things. You can create those campaigns right here. I'm not going to actually walk you through all of the steps, but just to show that what you're basically going to do is you're going to name a campaign, and then describe it, whatever that subject line is. You're going to then pull a group of people to send that to, and then we're going to give you a variety of templates and things to choose from, and then you can send. So let me just kind of see here. You just kind of see what a campaign template. So for example, you can do, again, customized picture. You can do your company logo, some kind of announcement, and then you can then select a group of people, save it, and shoot it out. So you can use these for receipting. You can use these for updates, letters, all of those kinds of things. So once again, just want to emphasize that this is like, again, if you're paying for Constant Contact, I think MailChimp's free. Some people like MailChimp, but we just are, again, giving you the ability to do this all in one place, so you're not bouncing back and forth between different email providers. So that's campaign is the bulk, the email itself, and then the template is so you can just go back in and not have to recreate it every time. Automated emails are just some email reminders that we have set up for you. So if you do have people giving online, or any kind of email transaction, you can automate things. So for example, you can give them a one-time receipt. You can give them a message if their credit card did not process. These are just things that you can set rules to, so that you don't have to worry about making sure that donors are getting communicated to. This is really important because people that give online, they want to know right then and there that their information was taken and that donation was accepted. So letters, again, for those of you who are still doing letters, we like this a lot because you can then write within the software. You don't have to leave and go back into Word or anything like that. You can create a nice letter that you can then attach a list to and send out to a group of people. So for example, you might have a new donor letter, welcome kind of thing. So you see here, again, you can drop your own logo. You can then, what's really nice about this here is that you can then use this custom fields right over here to the right. And then you can create custom fields, first name, last name, address, salutation, gift, last gift amount, the gift, all of that kind of information. And then what you can do is then you can assign this to a group of people and then send out 15, 20, 30 letters. You can do a mail merge. And then that information will be dropped in and personalized. So let me show you really quickly how that works. So now it's time to utilize List Designer. We talked about this. So this is where you're going to go to create some kind of list in the software because you want to perform an action of some kind. So you can either create a list and save it, but I'm going to create a new list just for the heck of it. So I'm going to again open this up. You're going to see that you have a whole bunch of options to choose from. So you can create a list based off their donation type. You can do it based off of where they live, by their name, by the group they're in, those custom groups. So you can have all sorts of ability to really do a real customized group here. So let's say I'm just going to say any donation during say like the last 30 days, and maybe they're in a group of some kind. So we're going to say they are is in group, and the groups you set up will automatically autofill here. So maybe we'll call them a board member or something like that. And you hit execute. And then, oops, I don't have any board members again, but that's basically where that's going to show up. The other cool thing is anytime you name and save this group, then it's going to give you the ability to do some kind of action. You can export it to Excel. You can save it as a group. You can print mailing labels off that list pool. You can send an email. It'll take you straight to the email builder, or you can go to print letters. Let's go to actually, I'm going to do another kind of list pool right here. Let's go to List Designer. I'm going to show you kind of how the letter works, just to kind of make that bring home a little bit more. So let's just go to Create New List, and let's just say any donation amount. Let's just say any donation. Let's go back the last 30 days. We're going to hit execute. Okay, so we're going to call this new donors. All right, we're going to save that. Okay, so now let's go to print letters. Okay, so see this right here? This is the new donors. That's what I just created. Now I'm going to select that letter template. We're going to say, welcome new donors. I'm going to review and print. Now do you see what I just did? That letter then, it just dropped a bunch of information in, and so it's personalized. So go next. There's a different person, and there's another one. So I've just created a whole bunch of letters with just 2 or 3 steps that are very personalized. So that, that's a really cool feature right there. So that's kind of the nature of List Designer. You can, again, just by doing a series of and/or questions, you can really have a lot of fun with these. I don't know, some people think they're fun, but you can really get very specific using a series of and/or type of actions. And we can help you more with List Designer as we go, okay? So that's your List Designer right there. Is the List Designer based on data you input into the software correct? Assume there's no ability to access outside information or lists. I would say, Meg, yes, that is correct. That it's based off of what you have in the system. So, for example, you're doing what we call donor segmentation. So you want to create a list of everybody that lives in a zip code, or everybody that's given less than $100 or more than $200. It is absolutely based off of what you put in there. So that is the purpose of List Designer. I hope I've answered that question correctly, and we can come back to that if need be on that. It's an excellent question, by the way. So that's the last on communication. And the last thing we're going to look at real quickly as we kind of wrap up, I want to make sure we give plenty of time for Q&A, is your reports. Your reports are pretty self-explanatory. Reports are reports. What we've done is we've created a kind of a list of what I call most common or fundraising reports, canned reports, some people call them. This is going to be one of your more important ones, your donations by contact. That's going to where you're going to be able to go to get real specific information about. So this is, of course, where you go to create your contribution statements. So, for example, this is everybody who gave last year. You can then filter these reports by the funds, purposes, amount thresholds. You can then also customize the layout of that report. You can print this report. You can download it to an Excel spreadsheet. There's a lot of things you can do with this. Give some totals. Maybe you want to see everybody that's given between a certain amount last year for your board or for your development staff or whatever. This is also where you can go to do your contribution statements. So, for example, this is everybody who gave last year. I'm going to go to Extra Actions. I'm going to go Print Contribution Statements. I'm going to hit Print. And now in one PDF file, I've just now printed contribution statements for everybody who gave to my nonprofit last year. And these are ready to mail in a window envelope. So it's a really great feature, ready to go. And obviously that was heavily utilized in January for our nonprofit folks as well. So that's just a PDF right there. We're going to close that too. So that's your reports. Also, some other reports that you're going to get is last year, but we call these lie bunts and side bunts. Somebody gave last year but not this year. Some year but not this year. top donor report, pledge summary, pledge reminder. So we don't inundate you with too many reports because we think you can create a lot of that yourself in List Builder, List Designer, and then you can toggle the donations by contact. So that's kind of the main features from there. And let me just kind of round out a couple other thoughts, and then we'll do some full Q&A here. So again, just a reminder, your contacts are your people. Your fundraising is tracking your money and raising money. Communication is the communicating to your donors and the tools to do that, and then reports. A couple other things about Aplos. If you're new to Aplos, just know that we've got awesome support center. We have a live phones that get answered from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can also go to this little question box right here, and you can search our knowledge base or our support center. Just by typing in, you can look at categories and then get information. If you're a self-starter, so let's say I forgot how to do a contribution statement. So you just type in a few letters, and they're going to kind of try to figure out what you're asking. And I started typing in contributions, and that's what came up. So that's our support center right here. It's a nice, fun little video. We are a fun company, so we do a lot of videos and tutorials for you if you're a self-starter. Again, you can use our phone line, or you can go right here to this box right here and utilize our intercom. This is not a live chat, but it is an intercom where you can type in a question, and our staff will try to respond during the business hours. We try to get back to you, within a half hour or so, and then we also check in on the evenings and weekends. So if anybody's in a major crunch, so these are just kind of nice little features about our company that really, we really do pride ourselves on our customer service and trying to make it a good experience for you. So that's kind of the main features right there. And I just kind of want to go back on some questions here. We talked about List Designer. Do you have an opt-out feature for donors we email to, communicate to? Yes. Also, we communicate to donors via email or social media. What is used as a donate button or link to support? First part of that question, Meg, is that, opt-out button is absolutely in there. I think it is required, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, donors can opt out in your email campaigns. And then typically what we'll do is we'll give you the ability to attach a link in that email that will drive them to your Donate Now button, whether it's ours or whether the one you've created through a different person. Okay. How is the software different than Constant Contact? Great question. Constant Contact is solely a freestanding email campaign program. So what we've done is we've given you the ability to email within our software. So it's one tool in your toolbox, if I can explain that well or not. So that is really the difference. So with Aplos, you have the ability to do your accounting as well as your donor management. You can mail letters, you can do emails. I will, say that our templates for the email campaigns are not as extensive as Constant Contact because they are solely an email campaign company. They have a lot more features than we have. Ours is, we're going to give you, 5 or 6 templates, a variety of colors. But if you're looking to do, high level email campaigns and you like Constant Contact, I'm going to say keep using Constant Contact. Okay. So unless there's any other questions here, we went over the fees. Great questions on that. So I'm going to leave you at the end here with my email address. So if you have any other questions, comments, or follow-up questions you didn't think about, let us know as well. So again, my name is Dan Kimball. My email is Dan, D-A-N, .Kimball, K-I-M as in Mary, B-A-L-L, @aplos.com. So it's dan.kimball@aplos.com. Feel free to shoot me an email if you want to see a more extensive demo than that, or you have specific questions on how this kind of applies to your nonprofit. The pricing structure for Aplos donor management, just donor management, not accounting, is going to be $50 a month for up to 500 contacts, $100 a month for up to 2,000 contacts. And then for anything at 5,000 and over, it goes up to $150 a month, or $180 a month for that. So that's the pricing structure on just donor management. We do have some packaging where you can get donor management and accounting together, and we'd love to talk to you about that. So unless there's any other questions, that's going to about do it for our webinar today. And we want to thank you for your time. We know that you guys are busy nonprofit leaders. We appreciate you taking the time to check out our donor management. And again, shoot me an email with any other questions or check us out online. Go to aplos.com and check out a number of our other resources. So with that one, I wish you all a great day. Thanks.